Hi everyone, it is Marianne from Yarnwork Studio, and today we're going to do some plying on my Ashford Electric Professional e-spinner. And yeah, I'm excited. I did a this to that video that took a braided combed top and used a drum carder to kind of split it up but keep the colors separated from each other so they don't muddy up. And this is the end result. I've got my 3 bobbins, so if you want to go back and watch that video to see the prep, go for it. But we're going to take this to plied yarn today, and I wanted to show a couple things before we started. The first was, previously I had spun this braid along with, so this colorway, along with a couple plies from a different colorway, and this is that finished hand spun. Now this was done over a year ago, and it was when I was still pretty beginner at spinning. It's got lots of inconsistencies, but this was the first time, oops, I just hit the thing. This was the first time I did like a true, what would it be? Like, this is the thinnest yarn I had done when I did this. And so it's inconsistent, but it also took forever because I did it worsted spun. Which for me always takes a lot longer to spin. So this yarn, I had big plans for it. Those plans kind of got squashed when I did a swatch and didn't like the way it was coming out with colors. So this has been sitting in my hand spun stash for definitely over a year now. And this is, again, a braid from Hidden Pond Yarns, who I previously said is in Ontario. She's in Quebec, but still feels like she's in Ontario because she gets quick shipping. And she has just some beautiful colors. So this is a non-superwash merino that we're working with, but this is not the braid, or this is not the finished outcome we're going to do. This is a 2-ply with this colorway plus a different colorway. But when I spun that up, I have a little bit of singles left from that. Yes, from over a year ago. Oh, I just hit it again. Don't judge. So I thought it might be nice to kind of look at the singles that were worsted spun from the combed top directly. Pretty happy with my consistency actually overall on this. And then here's some from my kind of semi-woollen, which is taking the comb top, putting it through the drum carder, and then spinning it from the bat, long draw. So a woolen spun and a woolen draw with a kind of semi-woolen prep. I think thickness wise, this one's probably a little bit thicker than the other. I don't have enough hands. Let's try. There we go. So the bluer one here is the worsted spun. And then this one over here on the left is the woolen spun. And I think thickness-wise they're about the same, but I expect this to become a lot more loftier and bouncier just because of the nature of the spin. So I'm going to set up to ply. I'm not going to do the whole ply on the video because it's going to take a long time. But overall, the experience of actually spinning with this was actually really nice. What I ended up doing was I took my big, I had made 3 bats. Now I can't remember from the video. I think I did, I don't know, 3 or 4 bats. And then I stripped them into bits. And so some pieces had purple, some had blue, some had this taupey color, and some had kind of a mix, and then they would kind of marl when you actually spin them. And then all I did was I put them all into kind of little buns, put them all in a basket, and I would just grab a bun and I would spin it, and then I grab another one at random and spin it. And the only rule I had was I wouldn't have 2 solid colors of the same color back to back. So my hope is that in the 3-ply, we're not going to get any sections that are like all 3 strands are blue or purple or this taupey color. I'm hoping that there's enough variation that there'll be at least 1 strand of a different color. But I'm going to go ahead and ply this up. And because I don't spend any time on editing, the best I can do is get prepped right here while you're with me. This is my handmade, very quickly handmade DIY lazy Kate that my husband made. That's the only one I have that works with my S50 bobbins here. Now the trick with this kind of is something that I've noticed is it's a little bit tricky. I'm just going to clamp it to the table while I'm talking. It gets a little bit tricky when I'm pulling off the top of the bobbin because I don't want to spin as well. So I just flip the bobbin over when I get there so that I'm always pulling from lower down. We have some stuff, we found some stuff at a little surplus shop that we think will be able to make it a little better. But for now it'll work great. And I'm just going to put it so that where the ends are is down at the bottom. And at first glance it looks good because this one looks like it has no purple. It does have a little bit in there, and I'm sure it has some within. But again, it's just the randomness was something where I'm like, I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to plan it out too much. I just want to go for it. So that's what we're doing. All right, so I'm going to load my bobbin onto my flyer. This was my very first spinning wheel. I learned on a Lendrum double treadle, and I do miss the double treadle. That's one thing I don't have in my 3 wheels at this point. But this was basically, I learned to spin on this e-spinner. I got it from my spinning instructor. I bought it from her. So like I knew that it was good because I didn't know anything about what I should or shouldn't know. I'm going to make sure that we are in reverse here. Keep going. Get some twist in there. So this has been my baby for so long, but I feel like now that I have 2 other wheels, I think my castle style wheel has become sort of my go-to. We'll call her Mummy's favorite for now. And this would probably be my second, and then my big Saxony style wheel, although very, very cool, and I love it. She's just bigger, and she's not like as easy to use when I'm lounging around on the couch, and it's not as transportable, so I don't use her quite as much. So I'm just getting started here. Do a little bit and then check on it. Definitely need a lot more twist than this going in, but I will say I have been watching an awful lot of JK Fiber Arts spinning videos, and I love them because she just kind of talks about what she's doing while she's doing it. And I usually learn something every time. So I've learned a lot about ply back tests. I think that looks beautiful. It doesn't have a big hole. So I think that's actually not a bad amount of twist. One of the things I've been playing with is doing a lot less twist than I normally would, because normally I'm a very high twist girly. And sometimes, especially when I've started to do a lot more long draw and woolen spun, I kind of want to keep it a little underspun. And I find, because I usually struggle to do a balanced ply, and that's because I really like a high twist. So I'm trying to appreciate a little bit of a lower twist. And this is actually feeling really nice, but a little bit slow for my tastes here. I usually like to try to ply pretty fast. All right, I'm gonna let some twist in there, and then I'm gonna make a few adjustments. It's hard to see because it's 2 strands of that taupey color. I'm a little faster here. But plying is all about getting into just a rhythm and then zoning out. And trying not to zone out so much that you don't manage your bobbin well. I've started to see some videos where people are using their auto leveler, I think it's called, where it will automatically, the flyer will automatically move along your bobbin. It'll move your working yarn along your bobbin, and that seems really cool, but I don't know if it'll work with what I've got. But yes, with my castle style wheel, I love plying on it. It's an S50 from Louet. I still haven't figured out how I'm supposed to say that. Someone tell me in the comments. But I only have 3 bobbins for it right now. So if I want to do a 3 ply, I can't ply that unless I move something over to a storage bobbin. And when I spin woolen, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but when I spin woolen, I get nervous doing, moving it back, like rewinding it onto a storage bobbin, because I get a little bit worried that it's going to break, because it just feels more fragile to me. I know it's not necessarily truly more fragile, but just because it has, you know, air trapped in it. And I just kind of let this one be what it's going to be, which is pretty thin, I would say. This is looking to me like it's going to be a sport or maybe a light DK. When it's finished, I don't have my little measuring tooly thing here. Where is that? I don't know. But yeah, so I'm just going to carry on for a while and come back when I've made a lot more progress than this. And then we'll put on the Nitty Naughty and hopefully see a finished, decently balanced skein. Okay, we're going to get nice and close in here just for a little bit. Don't have much to say about the process, but I do love watching the process video. So, I don't really want to have it just be empty space because we know I'm not going to edit and put some music over it or anything. So, here we go. It is definitely, now that I'm into it, it's getting a little bit more floofier. Pause, I've got a pigtail going here. It's definitely bouncy. It's definitely thicker than it was at the start. I said I think it's going to be sort of a sport or light DK. I think it's definitely DK, and it might even bloom up to a worsted, which I think will be fine. I'll be very curious about the yardage. So I'll do the yardage when I pull it off the bobbin when it's a little bit further along. I have, again, a little DIY hack that my husband built for me that has sort of an automatic yardage counter that we put onto a Swift. So I'll be able to tell you the yardage at the end of this when I skein it up and report back, which is fun. But yeah, so far it's done a really good job. I said at the start I want it to hopefully not have too many long stretches where all 3 strands become the same color, and I just had one little stretch that had 3 strands of blue, but it was definitely in a transition period between some colors. It wasn't very long, and it was definitely a couple different shades of blue. So far I'm super happy with this. I do find it definitely, compared to the worsted spin that I did with this braid combo plied with another braid that's similar in colors, this is definitely feels a little more sort of rusticy and not as smooth, which is pretty typical for long draw woolen spun yarns. I'll give you one nice look of it here. But yeah, I can't wait to have it finished. I do love the parts that have all 3 colors. I don't think I would have been upset at all if I just did 1 ply of each color, but the color distribution didn't work out that way, so it's going to be more of a muted, sort of variegated colorway for sure. So when we come back, I'll probably have it all done and show you the finished skein. It won't be washed, but it'll be finished. Okay, we have our finished ply. Feels very squishy, that's for sure. I'm really loving the twist I got here. Sometimes it feels maybe a little under twisted. I definitely found myself kind of falling into my old ways when it came to sort of adding quite a bit of twist, but I'm very excited with how this feels and to see how much yardage it is. It really does kind of look like it varies between maybe a light DK and closer to a worsted. So I'm going to put up together on a on my yarn winder with my yardage counter and come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, and it's time for the reveal. Dun 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 dun. So, a couple things on this finished beautiful, beautiful yarn. I love the way, again, it's not set or anything. I love the way that the colors are coming through. It's definitely not muddy, which is what I was trying to do as I set out to make the actual bats retain the colors. It's not as balanced as I thought it was going to be, so let me show you what I mean by that. This is it. gets a little bit noodly like this, a really nice, well-balanced yarn will come off and just kind of hang there. Now, when I set it, like this is no big deal. When I set it, this is all going to calm down. And when I knit it, obviously, it's not going to be all twirly-whirly like that. It's going to be just gorgeous, beautiful, straight yarn like this. But this is definitely something that I need to keep working on. So if you have tips on how to ply balanced yarn, I will openly accept them in the comments. And just to compare, so this one again is one strand of a braid like this and one strand of more of just a blue-gray. So it's slightly different, and it's worsted prep just with a comb top and worsted spun. This is semi-worsted prep because it was a braid that then was drum carded to make it floofier and airier. I'm just going to put it into a skein here. And then it was spun long draw, which is a woolen spun. And sorry, it's awkward when I try to make a skein, and it's probably going to be the worst skein because it always is. Oh, actually, that's not so bad. So I will wash it and set it, but check out this beautiful one side by side with the worsted one. Definitely floofier, poofier, and beautiful, color rich, 3-ply, beautiful yarn. Again, fibers from Hidden Pond Yarns. I'll put all the links down below. I bought these braids from her specifically to use as a contrast color in a sweater. But then the swatch that I had with the main color didn't have enough contrast, and I didn't like the way it was working up. So we'll figure out something new for this yarn. But in the meantime, there we go. We went all the way from a braid to bats to singles to yarn. Have a good one, everyone.